Hey, what's going on, crypto people? It is your boy, the Crypto Siege, with another day in the life and the crazy life that is the digital asset space. Good morning. Happy, is it Sunday? Yeah, happy Sunday. How are you? Hope everyone is doing outstanding. And let me first say, Privyet, Mom. Kagdala. That is for Mrs. Crypto Siege's mom. But guys, listen, that digital economy forum, I hope you guys had a chance to check that out. It was really significant. Shout out to XRP Darren. I actually got the notice about that that video a few days back. I'm a proud member of his Patreon. But I tell you what, that thing is just full of a lot of great golden nuggets. You want to talk about a great panel that they put together. Michelle Bond from Ripple was there, which was really cool to see. So really smart people. Former FDIC regulator was there, which I thought was significant. His name was Jason Brett. They had a guy who works at Deloitte was there. His name is Combees Richard. I forget his last name. He had some really great points as well. I tell you what, a really good discussion. I mean, they put together a really good panel. Come to find out that Alex Mashinsky was actually there as well. Obviously, he wouldn't be on that panel when we're talking about banking and regulations. He's not going to participate in that kind of panel, I guess. But yeah, so very good stuff. And a lot of really great points. One of the points that really struck me came from the former FDIC regulator, Jason Brett. And I thought it was pretty poignant. He said that, it used to be, back in the day, there was this saying, right, in our space, again, he was a regulator, right? Don't mess with people's kids and don't mess with people's money. Well, with the advent of advancing technology came the internet, and now, right, people were able to mess with people's kids, right? And with the advance of blockchain technology, he gave a great example, that there's a chance when China comes out with their CBDC, 8 or 10-year-olds, right, could get online and purchase China's currency, right? And so now we're messing with people's money, and I think that is a great analogy of always the kind of the pros and the cons of advancing technology. That's just kind of the way it is. But I love that phrase that he said, don't mess with people's kids, don't mess with people's money. And then the internet came around, and there was messing with people's kids, and now with blockchain technology, we're talking about messing with people's money. Interesting news also from that digital economy forum, where Switzerland, apparently their FINRA, or I think they may call it FIMBA, something like that, but basically the enforcement and oversight agency in Switzerland has announced that you're no longer going to be able to have cold wallets, that you're essentially going to have to put your digital assets on a centralized exchange or a centralized entity. I thought that was interesting, being that Switzerland has always been so very open to and liberal in a lot of their ways. So that's interesting. That's what they said there at the forum. I did not hear about that. Not being able to hold your own cold wallet is really kind of moving away from the idea of being able to be your own bank, right? I guess that's why Alex Mashinsky is always saying that the big banks are trying to shut him down. Because with a platform like Celsius Network, you're able to, in essence, kind of be your own bank and earn money on your money. And we all know that Alex is really a big advocacy of that, being able to be your own bank and earn money on your own money. So that's an interesting thing. I did not hear that Switzerland had done that. So I think it's very interesting. One thing also that I thought was pretty significant that Jason Brett said. He said, this is a different, he talked about, oh, by the way, being with his regulator background, he obviously he's in the know a bit, and he said that we're moving, and I quote, we're moving in the direction of putting utility tokens under the FTC. and digital cash under FinCEN. I thought that was interesting. Under the FTC, in the space that I work, where me and Ms. Crypto Siege work, where FTC is kind of the oversight, if you will, for our industry. But I thought that was industry. But number one, utility tokens, and that he mentioned. Number two, under the FTC. So interesting. Another great point that he said that I like is he said, it's great that we're going to these different agencies, right? Getting the SEC involved and getting the CFTC involved, right? He said, but we have to be very, very careful in that we don't stagnate, and put off advancing technology and people who want to do it, right? And he said he used a great example. There's a difference between an inspector showing up, right, at your business, right, versus a law enforcement agency showing up at your business, right? There's a difference, right? And so we got to be careful in where we assign these federal agencies and what role they'll play in this advancing blockchain technology. I thought that was very, very cool. One of the points a lot of people have been talking about, I think is pretty significant also from that panel, was when Kambiz Richards said, I almost feel as though this is a national security imperative. A national security imperative. I'm talking about blockchain technology, moving forward with this technology, right? And getting these regulations in place. He says we talk about it a lot in AI, right? And it's interesting that he mentioned that the president signed an executive order that kind of related to AI, but not blockchain technology. I'm not sure if that's exactly the case. And it also feels like to me that the China trade deal had some things in there about digital economy and digital trade. So I think the president is aware of it. But like Kambiz was saying, we have agencies, we have faster payments task force, we have stuff put together, right? We have these panels put together, we have these groups put together, but we're not moving forward, with stuff. And he point of fact said that we're behind when it comes to the major nations. We're behind. We're behind in implementing things. The way we move money, he said, in fact, we're behind as compared to the major economies, right? And so, I agree with him on that we need to kind of move forward. But when he talked to me, he said we need someone in the federal government who can advocate for this technology. I thought about the lady from BACT. Did you guys? The lady from BACT, I forget her name. She was going to be there at BACT, and then all of a sudden she got this spot in politics, and she took it. I forget her name now, forgive me, I forget her name, but perhaps she can be that one who can advocate from the federal, from within Congress, to advocate for blockchain technology. And I think in fact that she will, and I think that's one of the reasons why she got that spot, right? But he said, once we have something like that in place and more of that in place, and it's so interesting too, because the second he said that kind of someone to advocate for blockchain technology in the federal government, right? Michelle Bond really started, you could see her body language change, right? You could see her kind of squirming around in a chair, moving around, like she was like, we have that. Like, we got this. Yeah, that's one of the things that we're doing. And we can't forget about the fact that Ripple does have an office in DC, right? And I get what he was trying to say. This is Kambiz, he's the guy from Deloitte, because he knows that companies like Ripple, more established, although I still say they're a startup, more established, definitely have the money behind them, they do have an advantage. They, from a money standpoint, from being in the first movers advantage, he's hoping that regulations will allow for, the guys, a year old, less than a year old, will still be able to work with regulators and still be able to afford, apparently, it's very, very expensive to kind of get things running and dealing with the regulators. And so I thought that was a great point. But boy, you guys should have saw Michelle Bond start squirming around, especially when he mentioned public-private partnerships. And right, I mean, that's a term that's been thrown around and thrown around and thrown around and thrown around. in this PDF, and then that executive order, and then another PDF. That move is looking like that quote unquote partnership, private-public partnerships, is a big thing, and they're going to certainly move forward with that, and they're going to move forward with a company, right? With the company, okay, that has been working with them, the regulators, from day one. And it's just only been one that's been able to do that. So, I think it's really, really cool. I love what Michelle Bond said when she responded to kind of Kambiz, or she spoke right after him. And she said, I thought it was really, really cool. Obviously, she's going to mention the fact that Ripple has an ODL and what it can do. And right, she's going to make that. We've heard that, right? She's going to make that argument, 3 to 5 days versus 3 seconds, right? She's going to talk about ODL without question. But I like what she said when we were working on the internet in the 90s. The technology that we had was transistor radios and rotary phones, right? And so we needed the regulators to update, right, some stuff, update their regulations, so that we could in fact get the internet, not have it as an idea, but actually get the internet, right? And we did end up doing that, and she believes that that's exactly what's going to happen with blockchain again, right? Because everyone knows that these regulations are old. They're old, 40 years old or longer. Right, addressing one type of technology, but we're moving on to another type of technology. And so it's important for regulators to, again, not just come together, not just meet up and convene, right, but actually get some stuff going. And I like what Kambiz said again. He said, adopt and implement. Right, and scale, right, so that we can do those three things: adopt, implement, and scale. And so for me, all of those things speak to Ripple and its technology. And it just, when you think about it, Ripple just has an advantage. They've been working with the regulators, and they knew that this is what they needed to do. I love Bob Way. He said on the interview the other day on CKJ's channel, he said that don't get it twisted. In other words, Chris Lawson, he may have said, look, we're going to be working with the regulators, we're going to work with them to improve their technology, but he wasn't that way in the beginning, right? And so in his early days of business and in technology, he wanted to, kind of do it, the way the Bitcoin people originally kind of wanted to do stuff, right? But he learned early on that was not the move, right? And so he wanted to be sure to make the point that Chris didn't wake up, right, and all of it, wake up and say, yeah, this is what we're gonna do. He went in the other direction, fighting, right? Fighting. We need to change this. We need to do this. We need to, damn the banks, if you will, right? He had a different mentality, but he realized through going through that wasn't a right move. And thank God for us that he did realize that and go through that early on. And so when it came time to do the Ripple thing, he understood that that's perhaps not the best way. That change from within is really the move, right? Change from within is really the move. And so thank God that he learned from his, early stuff, right? Because you can be kind of young and naive, right? In anything, right? We all can be young and naive, and we all can think that one way is going to work, and then it's going to end up not working, right? And we all can then adjust, right? And so thank God that he has, because this is definitely proving out to be the better move. Guys. All right, listen, I'm going to wrap this video up like I do all my videos and remind you of this. Number one, we are in exciting times. I hope that you guys understand that you guys are playing a game that 99.9999% of the masses don't even know is being played. And you guys are winning, especially if you're XRP hodler. So understand that if you hold XRP, you hold the greatest digital asset ever created. And I'll say it again, the champ is here, guys. The champ is here, and that is XRP. All right, guys, listen, I'm going to remind you of this like I do in all my videos and say this. Old money doesn't want you to win. They don't want us to win. They would rather us remain a cog in their perpetual wheel of trading our time for dollars. They don't want us to play in the same playground that they play in, where we allow our money to work for us. This is our chance to win, guys. The digital asset space is our chance to win. We are in the midst of the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of man. Are you participating? Or are you standing on the sidelines? Here's what I do know. That the battle for you has already been fought. And the victory is yours. Go get it. I'll talk to you soon, guys. See ya. Bye.